Hello and welcome to the Central Now. I am Likon Obanjo. The top stories at this hour. President Tinubu orders review of governing board's list after protests. Muhammadu Sanusi II reinstated as the Emir of Kano. Chad's former junta leader Deby sworn in as president. Details to come your way shortly. Let's begin by telling you that 4 years after Muhammadu Sanusi II was deposed as the Emir of Kano, Governor Abba Yusuf of Kano State has reinstated him to the throne. This decision followed the Kano State House of Assembly's resolution to dethrone the current Emir and also dismantle the 4 new emirates in the state established under the controversial 2019 law. The restructuring of the Kano Emirate is seen as a political maneuver to diminish the influence of the then Emir Sanusi II, a vocal critic of the former Governor Abdullahi Ganduje's administration. The creation of the new emirates fragmented the authority of the old Kano Emirate Council, diluting its power and influence. Meanwhile, some operatives of the Department of State Services were spotted at the palace of the Emir of Kano, Alhaji Aminu Ado Bayero, on Thursday amid growing rumors of the Emir's imminent deposition. This development follows the passage of the Kano State Emirates Council Amendment Law, the Repeal Bill 2024, by the Kano State House of Assembly on Thursday. The Kano State Emirates Council Amendment Bill was considered on the floor of the House after scaling second and third reading on Thursday morning. The Assembly dissolved all 4 newly created Emirate councils in the state. And away from that, President Bola Tinubu has instructed his ministers to present their performance reports to the nation in honor of his first anniversary in office. The announcement was made by the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, during a press briefing in Abuja on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the sectoral scorecard has been held in Abuja. The event, which is part of the May 29 first-year anniversary, is expected to see several cabinet ministers give a report of the performance in the last 1 year. The event has been coordinated by Nigeria's Ministry of Information and National Orientation. Earlier, a columnist, Lekon Shote, was on the news and spoke to us on this. We apologize, we're not able to bring you that excerpt, but then probably in our subsequent bulletins will do justice to that. Let's now tell you that President Bola Tinubu has directed a total and comprehensive review of the recently announced governing boards of tertiary institutions before the inauguration and retreat being planned for the nominees. The Ministry of Education had last week released of governing councils for 111 federal tertiary institutions in the country. The list contained names of technocrats, politicians and traditional rulers for 50 universities, 37 polytechnics and 24 colleges of education. Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Education, Dedy Esther Wilson-Jack, who released the statement containing the list, had stated that inauguration and retreat of the councils would hold on May 30 and 31, 2024. But the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, among others, rejected the list and demanded a review. Now, a bill seeking to make provision for Nigeria to revert to its old national anthem has scaled through second reading at the Senate. The bill, sponsored by the leader of the Senate, Okpeyemi Bamidele, enjoys overwhelming support from the lawmakers. It has been referred to the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters to report back to the House in 2 weeks. The lawmakers, who appeared unanimous in support of the bill, argued that it would promote better symbol for unity, peace and prosperity compared to the current one. After a closed-door session to debate on the bill, the lawmakers asserted that the current national anthem is a product of the military junta decreed by the military and therefore should be discarded. We now go on our short break. We'll be back with more news. To stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. Earlier on the news, we told you that Muhammadu Sanusi II, who was the Emir of Kano, has been reinstated by the Governor of Kano State, that is Governor Abba Yusuf of Kano. Earlier, we told you that it was dethroned, but now he has been reinstated, and the 5 new emirates have been cancelled or scrapped, as the case is. So this evening, we have a public affairs analyst, that is Ismail Awal, who will be talking to us more about this. Ismail, thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you very much for having me.
So first, I'd like to know, on what grounds was the law repealing the establishment of the 5 new emirates? Of course, I'd like to find out on what grounds was that law repealed and that gave room for the reinstatement of Muhammadu Sanusi II.
Okay, thank you very much. I think what the State House of Assembly did was to bring out the law that was signed in 2020 by the Ganduje administration, and even as of that time,
yeah, please go ahead.
There is a court injunction that said Emir Sanusi was not removed rightfully. And what the House of Assembly did was they bring out the law. They studied the law. They read, and the first reading was yesterday, and the first reading was yesterday, and they feel the grounds in which the previous House of Assembly used to remove or dethrone Emir Sanusi had not followed all the due procedures or the right or in the right way, and that's why they annulled all the bill and then established another one, which the governor assented in less than an hour ago.
Okay, so the speculation flying around is that the creation of the states was actually vindictive on the person of Muhammadu Sanusi II, and also because it stood up to the authority of the former governor of Kano State, that is Abdullahi Ganduje. That was why he was dethroned. What do you make of this particular speculation?
Yes, there was that speculation since 2020, but that the reinstated Emir Muhammadu Sanusi II go against the administration of Abdullahi Ganduje and supported Governor Abba Yusuf, and that's why he has to remove him. But up till today, nobody has ever established an evidence of what Emir Muhammadu Sanusi did in 2019 that got against Governor Ganduje. But in the just concluded election, you see, they say the enemy of your enemy is your friend, and the friend of your enemy is also your enemy. So I think if for that reason, the supporters, it was very clear that the supporters of Emir Muhammadu Sanusi II in Kano supported Governor Abba Yusuf, and purposely because they want to get Emir Sanusi II reinstated, and this is what just happened. But for 2019, there's actually no clear evidence on what Muhammadu Sanusi II did to support Governor Abba Yusuf.
Okay, well, it might be hard to say how the power plays out in Kano State, but what about the former Emir of Kano, that is Deby? Do you think it will be putting up a front, making a statement, or probably, going to court to de-ratify this particular move by the current governor of the state?
Yeah, I think Emir Deby might be going to court from some of my sources. I think he's already making plans to do that. And as we speak, he's already not in Kano. He's in Lagos, and I don't think he's coming back because, as you know, if an emir is removed, the law stated that that particular emir have to leave the state he is ruling. But for the other emirs that are still in Kano, that's for the other four emirates, the governor has given them only 48 hours to pack and leave the state.
That's quite interesting. Before I let you go, Ismail, I'd like to find out the creation of the new 5 emirates as at then. Did it at that point or at that time whittle down the influence of the Kano Emirates? Was there a power tussle or probably anything that actually discredited the Kano Emirates as at the time those other emirates were created?
Well, actually, the four new emirates were created in 2020, there are people that have the opinion, including me, that will bring this unity among kind of looking at some states that have multiple emirates. But as to be sincere, up to this time, I don't think there's anything that shows those emirates would have discredited that particular those new emirates. In fact, some of the people living in that particular location or that emirate, specifically Gaya and Vichy, reported to have seen so much development in that particular emirate councils. But I don't think there's anything that's discredited the creation of the emirate.
All right. So finally, Ismail, so now that we're seeing that the former governor of Kano State, Ganduje, of course, what he actually put in place has been dismantled, is having political issues and all that. Do you think this could actually portend something critical for his person or his personality in Kano State, someone who had been at the top echelon of politics and leadership in Kano State and seems to be going through debacles now? Do you think it could portend something terrible for his person, probably later on in the states and of course in the country?
Well, Ganduje has been very unpopular in Kano for so many reasons, and I think the first one is the video, the dollar video, and also this issue of the treatment of Muhammadu Sanusi II also made him very, very unpopular. So I think for us living in Kano, we don't think it is something that people of Kano State will be concerned of, because even before he left, I think that was he had a very, very bad image here in Kano State. So I think it is the people at the federal level that are not in Kano that are seeing stuff like this as a new thing, but for us it's not.
All right. Ismail Awal, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. Let's quickly go on our short break. We still have more stories for you. Don't go away. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, a federal Capital High Court sitting in Garki has granted administrative bail to a former Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, and his brother, Ahmed Abubakar. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission had arraigned the former Minister of Aviation and his brother before the FCT High Court on an amended 10-count charge. The anti-graft agency in the amended charge alleged that the former minister awarded contracts to the tune of 19.4 billion naira to his brother and his company. In the trial, Judge Justice Suleiman Belgore, while delivering judgment on the bail application, cited reasons for granting the bail application, saying the defendant has met the conditions of the administrative bail earlier granted by the anti-graft agency and has not faltered his bail conditions. He also said that the investigations regarding the case have been concluded by the anti-graft agency and cannot be altered by Sirika. Away from that, the Network Against Corruption and Trafficking Initiative has called for the arrest and prosecution of the former governor of Delta State, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, over wide-scale corruption, a diversion of 500 billion naira from state coffers while he held sway as governor, and award of contracts to companies with vested interest owned by his friends and family. The network, during a press conference in Abuja, says that it has evidence of these acts of corruption and has forwarded same to anti-graft agencies in the country, challenging them to live up to their responsibilities and recover the funds.
Of funds and primitive massive acquisition of property by Okowa and his family members is enough to make him family and cronies jail. Despite the over 3 trillion naira that came into the Delta State coffers under the 8 years tenure of Okowa, a staggering sum of 600 billion that cannot be accounted for was borrowed by him. Yet left a debt profile of 480 billion naira and unpaid ongoing project worth over 150 billion naira. 1 year to Okowa leaving office, he used fronts to float Premium Trust Bank. We are challenging these anti-corruption agencies to prove to us that our claims are wrong and want to see them prosecuted and want the people's money to be recovered for the good of the people. That is what we are asking, and that is the essence of this press briefing.
Now I'll tell you that Nigeria's Senate says it will investigate the circumstances surrounding the recent oil pipeline explosion in Yanagwa, the Bayelsa state capital, south of Nigeria. The incident was raised on the floor of the Senate by a member of the parliament, Benson Kombowe, who says that many residents living within the vicinity of the explosion have been affected. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
Nigeria's oil-rich Bayelsa state has once again come under the spotlight. This time at the Senate, following the resumption of plenary, where the recent pipeline explosion, which affected some communities and caused a massive fire, was discussed by the lawmakers.
Alarmed that there were huge explosions from a crude oil pipeline on Tuesday, the 14th of May, resulting in an inferno in the vicinity of the gas facility, and this constituted a threat to the safety of the facility.
Some members of parliament called for urgent measures to be put in place to prevent recurrence and provide for those who were affected by the explosion.
We'll have to, maybe the committees, relevant committees, will have to conduct an inquiry, not the executive, because we don't believe that the executive understands the challenges that our people have been suffering all these years. But maybe if the joint committees look into the matter, we can have a report to look at and then interface with NMPC, now whatever it is called, and then the operators and the regulatory bodies to see what steps can be taken to determine the adequacy of the measures that have been taken.
To our people that are living around there, I will also emphasize that there is need for an urgent step to be taken, especially the evacuation of our people that are living there.
The president of the Senate described the situation as a worrisome event, saying the subsequent pollution to the environment is a cause for concern.
Because it is from there that the gas is processed and sent to the Bonny terminal for export, to a very big source of foreign exchange earnings for our country. Because the people have no place to run to. Otherwise, they go into the Atlantic Ocean.
The Senate called on relevant federal agencies to quickly provide aid to the affected victims. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
The Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN, has reiterated the need for professionals to adhere to regulations in their operations to make the building industry a haven for the country. COREN President Engineer Ali Rabiu, who disclosed this at the 2024 edition of the Nigeria Build Expo in Lagos, enjoined all professional bodies to promote ethics and uphold standards. For his part, the national chairman of the Nigerian Institution of Mechanical Engineers, Engineer Alassane Mohammed, called for the accreditation of more training institutions and regulates the practice of engineers, technologists, technicians, and craftsmen in Nigeria.
Our collaboration serves as a powerful symbol of unity within the construction family, and as allied professionals, we share a common goal, and that is to create built environments that are safe, sustainable, and conducive for human flourishing. By working together like we all have advocated, we can harness the complementary strengths of our respective disciplines to tackle complex challenges and drive innovation in the industry.
Enforcement of the regulations is not there, and most of the major stakeholders in the industry are not regulated. When you talk of the artisans, generally they are the majority, but it's like they are not regulated. And generally, the regulation is poor, but thank God the COREN, which is one of the major regulators, they are coming up with other regulators called BON and things like that. They are coming up to structure so that we have a more robust regulation and enforcement of the regulation. That's what we need, because actually it's like we are just living in a free world with no monitoring and regulation.
Talked a lot about PPP, public-private partnership. We need to get together and have a common objective of getting ahead.
Now, the ECOWAS Parliament has resolved to commence engagements with the 3 states of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso in a bid to urge them not to leave the regional bloc. This was as regional parliamentarians commenced their second extraordinary sitting in Kano, where they pledged to ensure that the community remains united and reap from the benefits of its proposed integration of member states. Amadin Uyi tells us more.
The parliament had commenced its second extraordinary session in the ancient city of Kano. Invited guests who had attended the opening ceremony expressed optimism that the discussions by the regional lawmakers will be in-depth and the parliament's goal of achieving regional integration will be successful because of its tremendous prospects for member states.
We are hoping that the discussion at this extraordinary session will go beyond adopting your rule of procedures and other plans on guiding the businesses of the legislature.
The regional integration will no doubt create new opportunities for economic diversification as well as wealth creation, while at the same time supporting the creation of formidable firewalls that will protect communities and member states from visiting insecurity occasioned by banditry, terrorism, and other violent extremism.
The acting Speaker of the Parliament called for a delegation that will help mediate in the crisis affecting the sub-region, especially with the states of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso.
I will, in consultation with my colleagues on the Bureau, be proposing the appointment of an ad hoc mediation committees whose mandate will be to work within all stakeholders in getting our brothers to rescind their decision and come home and work towards promoting dialogue with a view to resolving conflicts in the region. It is no doubt that we are stronger together.
He says that he hopes that the committee can prevail on the 3 states not to leave the regional bloc. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
Coming up on the news, concerns raised over record unemployment in South Africa. We'll bring you details of this and other stories after this short timeout. Don't go away. We take you to Southern Africa, where millions of South Africans are set to vote in the general election on May 29, and with one of the highest rates of unemployment in the world becoming a hotbed issue, some wonder who on the ballots will help bring about real change. The African National Congress has been the dominant political force since it successfully led the struggle against the white minority government and the racist legal system known as the apartheid. It won the country's first democratic elections in 1994 and has been in power ever since. But its share of the votes at the general elections has been falling steadily since its high watermark of 70% in 2004.
In the election, asina hope kule government iko sifuna change. Yeah, sifuna change. Abantwana bethu abasebenzi. Njengoba abantwana bethu bangasebenzi, reason ukuthi wabangasebenzi. Umsebenzi ukuthi wayengabi khona kucela ama foreign national. And foreign national ba committee crime too much la. Everywhere kukhalwa ama foreign national. And government, the current government akanandaba naleyo nto le.
I'm very confused. Even for now, I'm confused for which political party I'm going to vote for. I'm still weighing my options. I'm confused. To be honest, I'm confused. It's very sad. It's not only me, it's very sad. We've got people in their locations. People, that's why we are having criminals now. They're even criminals because people have studied and they're hungry.
Yes, I'd love to see more infrastructure and employment. Yes, I just want to see a change in the society. I can say so, but for others it's not enough. But for me, I think it's fine. It does do something to us, a change.
Still in South Africa, 3 years have passed since the tragic gas tanker explosion that claimed the lives of dedicated nurses at Tambo Memorial Hospital in Johannesburg. Now their colleagues have come together to celebrate their lives and honor their memory. The celebrations come days after the commemoration of the International Nurses Day on May 12 under the theme, Our Nurses, Our Future and Our Economic Power of Care. News Central's Bongani Siziba reports.
For human life. I will maintain.
The wounds of loss are still fresh for those who worked alongside these brave individuals whose lives were cut short in the line of duty.
Their memories will always stay with us as they served this hospital with passion, with dignity, as with all their heart. They will always be missed and we'll always remember them, especially when that day comes, the 22nd of December. It was a very difficult day for us. Today, as we commemorate our day, we are remembering them that they should have been with us here today, and we miss them, but we'll always love them wherever they are. They must rest in peace.
This event not only commemorates the nurses lost in December 2022 tragedy, but also coincides with the International Nurses Day on 12th May, a day to recognize and celebrate the vital role that nurses play in healthcare worldwide.
It's one of the best days that they always want to celebrate because, in fact, they are even able to talk about the achievements and the things that they have done, but at the same time to remind us as government that we are still here, we are working 24/7 flat out. You must assist us as government to ensure that we overcome some of the problems that we're experiencing in our institutions.
You know, International Nurses Day is one of those days where we put away all the complaints about nurses and we actually celebrate what nurses are doing, which is rendering healthcare and making sure that people in this country and all across the world are getting the healthcare that they need. So for me, it's a day where we forget about the complaints, but we focus on nurses being the heroes and heroines that they are.
For families of those who perished during the explosion, the memories of their loved ones remain vivid and cherished.
Alahlekelwa indodakazi yami kulelo. Yeah, angabi right. Ngisezwa ubuhlungu. Angabi right enhlizweni yami. Kusenzima kakhulu. Kusebuhlungu, especially mangicabanga abantwana ukuthi bashwe umama bebancane, yebo. So iyo into engiphatha kakhulu ukuthi kwebuhlungu. Ukuthi kumnandi uma umntwana ekhuliswa umama wakhe, but uma umama ngasekho akusafani, uyabona. So iyo izinto ephinde imphathe kabi.
For the passion of their profession, they remember what made them resilient.
Sometimes the nurses have to sacrifice their families and come even if a person is not feeling well. You as a manager, I've been a manager for 26 years. So as a manager, you are able to look after your nurses. These nurses have families and they are nurses that have worked so much.
As these nurses remember and celebrate the lives of those who gave so much in service to others, their legacy lives on in the hearts of all who knew them. In Boksburg, Johannesburg, for News Central, Bongani Siziba.
Thank you so much, Bongani, for that report. We now take you to the east of the continent, where a Kenyan mountaineer who went missing near the summit of Mount Everest has been found dead. 40-year-old Joshua Chariot Kiri and his 44-year-old Nepali guide Nawang Sherpa disappeared on Wednesday while attempting to summit Everest without supplementary oxygen. Local tourism officials told newsmen that the guide is yet to be found by the search team that had been deployed to locate the pair. In an earlier post, Muhia had backed Korea to complete the climbing, saying it was properly equipped, physically capable, resilient, and well-trained. This week, Korea's death on Everest is the fourth reported fatality. Earlier on Tuesday, the bodies of a Romanian climber, a British climber, and his Nepalese guide were discovered. In the central part of the continent, General Mohammed Idris Deby Itno, head of a military junta for 3 years in Chad, has been sworn in as president following the May 6 election contested by the opposition. The ceremony, televised live on T-Chad Info's TV, showed Deby taking an oath to faithfully fulfill the high functions entrusted to him by the nation. This comes after Prime Minister Success Masra on Wednesday said he had handed in his resignation just over 2 weeks after his defeat to junta chief Mohammed Idris Deby Itno in the presidential elections. Itno won 61% of the votes cast on May 6, an election that his chief competitor referred to as a masquerade and that international organizations alleged was neither legitimate nor free. Still ahead on the news. Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi laid to rest. We'll bring you details in a short while. To join us again. From other continents, we'll tell you that Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi has been laid to rest at the holy shrine of Imam Reza in his hometown of Mashhad. Raisi died on Sunday alongside his foreign minister and 6 others when their helicopter crashed in the country's mountainous northwest while returning from a dam inauguration. Raisi was South Khorasan's representative in the Assembly of Experts, a clerical body in charge of selecting or dismissing Iran's supreme leader. Elsewhere, investigators have examined the smoldering wreckage of a migrant hostel in a village near Moscow, where a deadly fire broke out around 4 a.m. According to prosecutors, at least 8 people were killed in the incident at an illegal facility in the Istrinsky district to the capital's northwest. Rescuers said 2 occupants escaped, but that 8 bodies were found in a home which is on the edge of a holiday village. Prosecutors ruled out gas as a potential cause of the blaze. Now, Bosnian Serb leader Milorad Dodik has denied that the 1995 Srebrenica massacre of thousands of Muslim men and boys was a genocide. Bosnian Serb leader Dodik defiantly denied a genocide had taken place in a Bosnian city and that his administration would not recognize the UN resolution if passed. This comes ahead of a UN vote on whether to hold an annual international commemoration. The resolution, written by Germany and Rwanda, countries synonymous with mass killings in the 20th century, would make July 11 International Day of Remembrance of the Srebrenica genocide.
Nije bio genocid u Srebrenici. Jer to kažu mnogi autoritet koji se bave tim. Nisam ja autoritet za to. Niti je Lagundžija autoritet za to. Niti je Bećirević autoritet za to. Autoritet su ljudi koji su čitav život svoj naučni uložili u to da znaju šta je to kvalifikacija. Pa smo ih slušali ovi. To što vi njih ne slušate. A slušate ambasadore koji isto tako nisu autoritete, zato to je drugo pitanje.
Talking business now, Sonatrach has signed an agreement with U.S. oil major ExxonMobil to allow the study of opportunities to develop hydrocarbon resources in Algeria's Aknet and Gurara basins, the 2 state-owned Algerian oil and gas groups said on Thursday. Earlier this year, Total Energies and Sonatrach have extended their cooperation in the field of liquefied natural gas by extending their contractual relationship until the year 2025. In 2025, Sonatrach will thus be delivering 2 million tons of LNG to Total Energies at the port of Foscovo near Marseille, which will contribute directly to the security of energy supply in France and Europe. In the meantime, Nigeria's Ministry of Petroleum anticipates $20 billion in investment in the coming months following Total Energies' acquisition of Angola. According to Henneken Lukobiri, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, since his assumption to office, efforts have been made to create an enabling environment needed to attract investment into the Nigerian oil and gas sector. He added, and I quote, "These were companies that left Nigeria because they believed that there were inconsistent policies and the atmosphere was unfavorable. But following this administration's policies of deliberately creating the best environment that are competitive globally, they are all coming back." End of quote. In sports, Enyimba Football Club has announced the departure of coach Finidi George, who has officially been appointed as head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Coach George's departure marks the end of an era for Enyimba FC. In light of Coach George's departure, Enyimba FC has also announced the promotion of assistant coach Olarinwaju Yemi Daniel to the position of head coach until the end of the season. Yema has been an integral part of the coaching staff, demonstrating his commitment, expertise, and leadership qualities through his tenure. Coach Yema is currently pursuing his UEFA B license in Scotland and is dedicated to furthering his coaching education and bringing the latest techniques and strategies to Enyimba FC. We'll now tell you that Nigeria's Golden Eaglets have qualified into the semi-final of the 2024 WAFU Under-17 Championship after a comfortable victory over Togo. The Nigerian team started the championship against Burkina Faso with a goalless draw, but recovered to beat Niger by a lone goal in the second game. The Golden Eaglets earned a valuable 3-0 win over the young Sparrow Hawk on Thursday afternoon in a commanding display. Abdulaziz Adekunle gave Nigeria the lead earlier in the game before Rafa Adams made it 2-0 just before halftime. Abdul Muiz completed his brace midway into the second half to give Nigeria maximum victory. Nigeria finished on top of the group on a superior goal difference as Burkina Faso could only beat Niger 1-0. Meanwhile, the Golden Eaglets will face Ivory Coast in the semi-final, while Burkina Faso will confront Ghana. Let's also tell you that West Ham have appointed Yolande Lopetegui as their new head coach. The 57-year-old Spaniard, who agreed a deal with the Hammers earlier this month, succeeds David Moyes and joins on a 2-year deal with the option for a third. Lopetegui has been out of a managerial role since he left Wolves in August. Earlier this month, West Ham United confirmed Moyes, who took over for a second spell at the club in December 2019 and won the Europa Conference League in 2023, would leave at the end of the season. The 61-year-old Scots had come under increasing pressure after a poor run of results, which saw the Hammers finish 9th in the Premier League and miss out on a 4th successive season in Europe. Lopetegui will officially begin his role on July 1 for the start of the pre-season. Now, world number 5, Jessica Pegula, has pulled out of the French Open because of ongoing neck and back injuries. The 30-year-old has not played since winning her 2 matches to help the United States beat Belgium in the Billie Jean King Cup qualifier in April. Pegula, who reached the 3rd round at Roland Garros last year, has never advanced past the quarterfinals of a Grand Slam tournament in singles. She's expected to return for the grass season and be playing in the lead-up events to Wimbledon. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, we quickly take a look at some of our top stories. President Tinubu orders review of governing board's list after protests. Muhammadu Sanusi II reinstated as the Emir of Kano. Chad's former junta leader, Deby, sworn in as president. You can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. And don't forget to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV. and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekon Onobanjo.